Okay, now we're going to talk about cost of goods manufactured. Okay, cost of goods manufactured is the total cost of making a finished product. So we're talking about effectively our product cost mostly, or pretty much solely our product cost, but how that moves through, in this case, a manufacturing facility. So manufacturing facilities have three different types of inventory. And inventory is always an asset. Okay, it's something that we own. But there's three separate kinds in a manufacturing firm. And the first one is raw materials inventory. This is things that they buy from the outside. This would be, to go back to the furniture example, this would be raw board feet, or glue, or nails, or screws, or anything else fabric if they're cutting it, would be the type of thing that would be included in raw materials inventory. So that's where we start. How inventory moves is as we buy inventory, and then we move over into our second category of inventory by requisitioning that inventory. So there's an inventory flow that happens on every single one of these three inventory types. And that is that the basic idea of our inventory flow is that we have a beginning inventory, so what we started with. And you'll notice that sometimes in the book, or a lot of times actually, this is represented by date. So beginning inventory will be the earlier date. We add any inventory that comes in, we subtract any inventory that goes out, and that gives us our ending inventory. And this again could be a date. So if this were a month, like if it was a month of January, we'd have January 1st being our beginning inventory, and our inventory would be our inventory as of as of January 31st. So that's an example. The reason why I have this basic inventory flow over here is because while this does occur in all three of our inventories, there's a little bit different naming for each one, to just kind of understand what they are. But still, this basic flow is always the same. And if you think about this flow, it's how anything works. Think about a grocery store. So they start with a certain number of apples. They order some more apples to bring them in. They sell a certain number of apples, and then they have what they have left over. So for raw materials, this is just called, and most of them it's just called beginning inventory. But beginning inventory materials would be my first step. Inventory in is stuff that I buy from outside. So I'm going to call this purchases. If you're making this spreadsheet with me, you got to put an apostrophe before the plus sign. That makes Excel recognize it as text. If you just put a plus, it will think that you're writing a formula. So plus purchases. So that would be, whatever I started with in raw materials, and I'd add whatever I bought in raw materials. Again, with an apostrophe, I subtract out any inventory, and the typical term we use is requisitioned, which is just a word, if you don't know, means just that it's been ordered to go out, basically. So there's usually paperwork, well, there's almost always paperwork, or at least electronic paperwork behind this. So we requisition inventory, and where that inventory goes is to our work in progress. So, and then once we take out whatever inventory went into our work in progress, we would have our ending raw materials inventory. So my inventory requisition would be my materials that go into my work in process. So my work in process, this is inventory that has begun the manufacturing process, but has not been completed yet. So this would be my half-built pieces of furniture. This would be my half-built dresser, my half-built sofa, my half-built items. So beginning inventory wouldn't be complete, but it is beginning inventory that is in progress. I would add to that my raw material requisitions, which would be not only my direct materials, but my indirect materials, but my direct materials and indirect materials. And then I'd also add my direct labor. And then if there is some, this is also where I'd add my manufacturing overhead. Okay, so my product cost basically all get added together there in my work in process. Once it is done, once it is complete, that is called, and I'm done manufacturing it, it is finished, and I am going to get ready to sell it. That is the number we're looking for here, and that is called cost of goods manufactured. So this is the cost of everything that I've manufactured and has gone from being in progress to being completed in this time frame. Okay, so similarly, I'm going to have my cost of goods manufactured. It's going to go over here. So I again have beginning inventory. This would be inventory I had completed last time frame, whatever the time frame was. Beginning inventory for finished goods. And I'm going to add any cost of goods manufactured, which is what came from here. Oh, I forgot to type down here. This is my ending inventory for work in process, my WIP. Okay, so I've got my cost of goods manufactured is going to be my plus here. So what I'm going to add, I'm going to take out my cost of, I'll type it all out here, cost of goods sold, because this is the value of whatever items I sold. So they were already finished, and now I've sold them. And like I said up here, I was adding in plus sign, my cost of goods manufactured that will equal my ending inventory. This particular form and function and how these inventories work together it was used throughout this entire book, throughout almost every chapter. It's kind of one of those basic things that I highly recommend knowing and understanding. Really, truthfully, as long as you understand the basic idea of the flow, you should be okay. But obviously, understanding the more specific terms and where they come from for my 3 different types of inventory in a manufacturing facility would also be a good idea. But making sure we understand how the flow works and how one moves from one to the other. Because what a lot of problems you'll see will do is they'll ask for either an ending inventory or how much was requisition. They'll ask you for one of these 4 numbers, and they will only give you 3 of these options. So it's a real basic algebra of solving for X, but it's not uncommon in accounting that we have to do that. Maybe I didn't record some of my purchases, or I want to confirm my purchases are right. And this is how I check inventory. I would do the math on the ending inventory, then I'd go actually physically count and see if that matches up for what my ending inventory should be, and so on and so forth. So a lot of the work we'll be doing will have to do with these this particular cost of goods manufactured issues that arise with cost of goods manufactured. And I think that's good for this video.